today's video, we're going to be talking about the Ukrainian mysterious fighter pilot, Ghost of Kyiv. Outlandish stories of a pilot known as the Ghost of Kyiv circling the sky and shooting down Russian jets have flooded social media lately, but does the Ukrainian pilot actually exist? Stay to the end of the video to discover this and more on the Ukraine-Russia war. Videos of fighter jets in Ukraine began circulating on social media on the first day of the Russian invasion in February 2022, shortly after the invasion began, claiming that a single pilot shot down multiple Russian jets. During the first 30 hours of the invasion, a potential or legendary IG-29 pilot dubbed the Ghost of Kyiv by the Ukrainian population allegedly won 6 air battles over Kyiv. 2 Su-35s, 2 Su-25s, an Su-27, and a G-29 are among the 6 planes mentioned. If the ace exists, they would be the first fighter ace of the 21st century, and an ace in a day. Should the downings be confirmed, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense claims that the Ghost of Kyiv could be one of scores of skilled military reserve pilots who rushed back to the Ukrainian armed forces when Russia invaded. It referred to the Ghost of Kyiv as the Air Avenger in a tweet. However, Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny claimed that he could only confirm 6 Russian jets were shot down on the first day of action in Ukraine, though there could have been more. Former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko uploaded a photo of a fighter pilot on Twitter, claiming it was the Ghost of Kyiv, who he said was real. A photo of a pilot testing a new helmet was later determined to have been reused from a Ministry of Defense post dated 2019. Despite the fact that the Ghost of Kyiv is considered an urban legend by some, his existence has been recognized as a tremendous moral boost for the Ukrainian people. The Ukrainian Security Service announced on Facebook on February 27 that the Ghost of Kyiv had shot down 10 planes. This is presently the only recognized source for information on the Kyiv Ghost. At this point, no other news organization has independently validated the claim. According to some military strategists, the Ghost of Kyiv will most likely turn out to be an urban legend, but it is working as a tremendous morale booster for the Ukrainian soldiers in the face of overwhelming odds. The invading Russian forces, which include land, air, and sea forces, exceed the Ukrainians. However, the Ghost of Kyiv and accounts of the valiant last-ditch efforts by Ukrainian forces, which have been widely shared on social media, have helped Ukrainians remain hopeful despite the grave peril they face. He's known as the Kyiv Ghost, and rightly so. This UAF ace rules the skies over our capital and country and has already turned invading Russian planes into a nightmare. Ukraine's official Twitter account posted a message. The Ghost of Kyiv could be a real pilot, according to Snopes, but footage on social media showing a duel in which a Ukrainian fighter shoots down a Russian plane are definitely phony, as the video is from an air combat simulation game called DCS. Following a flurry of attacks on airfields and fuel facilities elsewhere that appeared to represent a new phase of Russia's invasion, street combat broke out in Ukraine's second-largest city on Sunday, and Kremlin forces increased pressure on important ports in the country's south. According to the Kremlin, Russia sent a delegation to Belarus for peace talks with Ukraine after making achievements on the ground. Volodymyr Zelensky, on the other hand, recommended alternative venues, claiming that his country is unwilling to convene in Belarus because it was used as a staging area for the invasion. The president mentioned Warsaw, Bratislava, Istanbul, Budapest, or Baku as alternative locations in a video address on Sunday. Other locations, he continued, are also conceivable, but Ukraine does not accept Russia's choice of Belarus. A Russian delegation landed in the Belarusian city of Homel on Sunday for discussions with the Ukrainian officials, according to the Kremlin. Military officials and diplomats are among the delegation, according to the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. The Russian delegation is ready for talks, and now we are waiting for the Ukrainians, Peskov said. On Thursday, the 24th of February, Russia invaded Ukraine, sending troops in from Moscow's ally Belarus in the north as well as the east and south. According to a regional official, street fighting broke out early Sunday in Kyiv as Russian troops push into Ukraine's second-largest city, following the wave of attacks elsewhere targeting airfields and fuel facilities that appeared to mark the start of a new phase of the invasion, slowed by fierce resistance. Shortly after Moscow launched its invasion of Ukraine on Thursday, Russian troops neared Kyiv, roughly 12 miles south of the Russian border. However, they waited on the outskirts of the 1.4 million-strong city until Sunday, not attempting to enter while other forces rolled through, pushing their attack further into Ukraine. According to Oleh Synhubov, the chief of the Kyiv Regional Administration, Russian troops moved in early Sunday and were attacked by Ukrainian forces. Civilians were advised not to leave their houses. He didn't go into any further detail. Russian vehicles were seen traveling across Kyiv in videos broadcast on Ukrainian media and social media, as well as light vehicles burning on the street. Huge explosions lit up the sky south of the capital, Kyiv, early Sunday, as locals hunkered down in homes, underground garages, and subway stations in preparation for a full-scale Russian assault. According to the town's mayor, flames billowed into the sky before daybreak from an oil storage near an airbase in Vasylkiv, where there has been fierce combat. According to the town's mayor, flames billowed into the sky before daybreak from an oil storage near an airbase in Vasylkiv, where there has been fierce combat. Another explosion occurred at the civilian Zuliani airport, according to Zelensky's office. According to Zelensky's office, Russian soldiers blew up a gas pipeline in Kyiv, leading the authorities to advise residents to cover their windows with moist cloth or gauze to shield themselves from the smoke. "We will fight as long as it takes to keep our land free," Zelensky promised. Men, women, and children were terrified and sought refuge inside or underground, while the authorities imposed a 39-hour curfew to keep people off the streets. Putin hasn't revealed his long-term goals, but Western diplomats believed he is determined to destabilize Ukraine's government and replace it with a pro-Russian state, redrawing Europe's map and reinvigorating Moscow's Cold War-era power. As Russia continues its attack, the West is scrambling to arm the outmanned Ukrainian army with guns and ammunition while imposing harsh penalties on Russia. It is therefore no surprise that the Ukrainians are looking for something to hold on to for hope, hence the Ghost of Kyiv. Before we share details on the Ghost of Kyiv, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. According to reports from CNN and other outlets quoting the Ukrainian Navy, the men are now alive. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine has already honored the fallen soldiers as heroes. All border guards died heroically but did not give up. They will be awarded the title of Hero of Ukraine posthumously, CNN and other news outlets quoted Zelensky. These occurrences of inaccurate information, on the other hand, are thought to be without malice. Rachel Moran, a postdoctoral scholar at the University of Washington's Center for an Informed Public, was reported in Axios as saying, "Low-tech misinformation is often conveyed by well-meaning people trying to make sense of a confounding situation to feel less helpless." Similar to the Ghost of Kyiv, on February 26, 2022, social media allegations of a Ukrainian ground forces soldiers called the Ukrainian Reaper also allegedly killed over 20 Russian soldiers in combat alone surfaced. Putin hasn't revealed his long-term goals, but Western diplomats believe he is determined to destabilize Ukraine's government and replace it with a pro-Russian state, redrawing Europe's map and reinvigorating Moscow's Cold War-era power. As Russia continues its attack, the West is scrambling to arm the outmanned Ukrainian army with guns and ammunition while imposing harsh penalties on Russia. Be sure to check out our Russian Armed Forces Are Getting Closer to Ukraine video. See you in the next one.